Chapter 5. The gas gauge was alarmingly past the E, meaning she wasn't going to get very far without fuel, so Katy headed to the only gas station in Pendle. Just before making the turn onto the street, Katy spotted a movement in her rear-view mirror. A hubcap was bouncing along the road. A glance at her watch confirmed that she was cutting it too close to go back and pick it up. She would just have to get it later, Katy decided as she pulled into the gas station. Katy quickly pumped gas into her car, making sure not to fill it too full. The car could die at any moment, and she didn't want to have an expensive full tank of gas, especially now that she had been laid off. She could see Dixby and Judy talking to a stranger in the small kiosk. He was wearing what looked to be an expensive suit. Screwing her gas cap back on, Katy made sure to grab her coffee off the top of the car. On several occasions, she had managed to drive off with her cup of coffee bouncing behind her on the sidewalk. She had a bad habit, and thus her friends and family knew always to buy her more travel mugs. Katy took a sip as she walked quickly to the gas bar, intending to pay for her gas. As she sipped, Katy took her eyes off where she was going. She heard the bell of the door before she saw the stranger and walked right into him. "Oh, I'm so sorry!" Katy exclaimed as the lid on her travel mug popped off, and she baptized the stranger with most of her coffee. The stranger looked down as the coffee stain spread over his immaculately white shirt. Katy was certain some had splashed onto his suit jacket as well, but it didn't look so glaringly obvious as the white shirt. "I think I have a napkin somewhere in the car," Katy offered timidly, as the stranger's jaw set in annoyance. "No, that's fine," he told her before taking out a white handkerchief and dabbing at the wet fabric. He gave her a tight smile. "If you'll excuse me, I need to go to the bank." "It's just down the street to the right," she automatically supplied. "So I have been told. If you will excuse me," he repeated, and raised an eyebrow expectantly. "Yes, of course." Katy quickly stepped out of his way. He hadn't even bothered to introduce himself, which was a little rude in her opinion. Dismissing the stranger from her mind, the bell rang as Katy came breathlessly into the gas bar, laying her money on the counter. "Here, Judy. Oh, hey, Dixby, if you happen to see my hubcap lying around, could you get it for me? I'm late for the girls' club meeting, and I just spilled my coffee all over myself and some guy who looks like he's going to a funeral or a wedding. Judy, I'll grab a quart of oil from the stand on the way out. The car just keeps acting up. Thanks." She bustled out, the bell tinkling as she left. Katy got in her car, trying to start the small rusting hatchback. "Come on, I don't want to be late." After a few tries, the car roared to life, and a black cloud belched from behind as she pulled out of the parking lot, minus one hubcap. This was her life, Katy reflected ruefully, spilling coffee on handsome strangers and watching her car slowly fall apart, piece by piece. She drove across town to the girls' club meeting space at the church. At one time, the town supported 5 churches. Now they were down to 1, which hosted a number of clubs and groups in an effort to keep the building neated. Katy grabbed her tote of items and a second container before she bustled into the building, last minute as always. She could already hear the girls singing at the front of the church as Ginny played the wheezing organ that should have been replaced years ago, except for the lack of funds necessary to do so. Quickly stashing her tote on a table that had been set out for crafts, Katy tossed her second container, containing some assorted squares that she had baked, onto the kitchen counter. She grabbed a songbook and joined the group, just as Ginny finished the song with a flourish. Katy blushed as Donna gave her a look of censure. She knew she wasn't being a good role model when she was late. However, she would have been even later if she hadn't stopped for gas and had to walk the distance to the church. Growing up in a tiny town and rural landscape, clubs and group activities were highly encouraged to help everyone develop a sense of community. Katy had grown up playing sports, participating in girls' club at the church, and being involved in any events that were going on. Despite its size, the town still put on an annual fair, complete with crowning the fair queen. It also had garage sale day, baseball tournaments, hockey tournaments, a Christmas fete, the maple syrup festival, and other activities suited to get the town residents to mingle together. Besides the scheduled events, the community always pulled together to help people who were down on their luck or just needed a helping hand. They raised the Draytons' new barn after the old one had burned down, and the family had lapsed on the insurance. Everyone had donated what they could to help the family out, since it was February and the dairy's calf barn had gone up in flames. The Draytons had managed the rest, and together the community had the animals back in a warm barn within the week. Katy loved her small town. People brought meals to each other when they were sick, elderly, or had a new baby. Everyone might know each other's business, but when push came to shove, most people helped each other. Just this past week, people had moved the Hawkins family. It was a good place to be, and Katy didn't want to live anywhere else. She wished she had talked specifics on how much she could expect as being the face of J.D. Emerson. Katy wanted to know if she was going to be able to afford to continue to live in Pendle. She knew she should just ask Jackson, yet she also knew she would probably chicken out. Katy had never asked for a raise her entire time at the daycare. Money just wasn't talked about. It was one of those taboo subjects. Sighing, Katy listened to the girls recite their motto. It was about kindness and being a good friend to all. The motto hadn't changed since Katy had attended the club as a child. Well, it was a good one. Perhaps the group could maybe use a change. Suggesting a change would probably be met with a lot of resistance. Then again, thought Katy, there was nothing like a classic. The group intro wrapped up, and Katy quickly went to the tables to sort out her tote for tonight's craft while the girls had a snack. "Can I give you a hand?" inquired Donna. "Sure." Katy gave her a grateful smile. "Spread out a handful of popsicle sticks for each girl. I have the paint." "Another Pinterest project?" Donna grabbed the little wooden sticks. "You know it." Katy had spent part of the afternoon in the library, scouring the internet for ideas for the limited materials that she already had on hand. For a couple of minutes they worked together in companionable silence to set up the table before Donna spoke again. "I noticed that Jackson and you were talking a lot at the Hawkins home the other day." Katy tried not to blush and failed. "He was kind enough to grab the laundry I accidentally threw all over the porch roof." "And afterward under the oak tree?" Donna probed gently. "Jackson just wanted to make sure I wasn't embarrassed about the whole thing." Katy tried to shrug it off. "We also talked a little bit about my losing my job at the daycare." Donna knew that Katy wasn't telling her the whole truth. She also noticed that Katy didn't blush when Donna brought up Trent's name in the past. She wondered if Katy had a crush on her firstborn son rather than the second like Donna had always hoped. Not that it would be a problem if Katy liked Jackson instead. Donna felt the issue would be Jackson's feelings. So far, he had been impervious to all the girls Donna had tried to match him with. Jackson tended to be a bit stubborn, and Donna had given up, especially when the last time Donna had mentioned a girl, Jackson had just rolled his eyes, kissed her on the cheek, and told Donna if she liked her so much, she could date her. It wasn't that Jackson didn't date. He did. It just never seemed to get serious. Donna eyed Katy. She didn't want the girl to get hurt. She would talk to Jackson later and see where his feelings were regarding Katy. "What are you going to do now that you've lost your job?" Donna asked. It was a question that was going around the area far too much lately. "I thought I might visit my parents for a little while. I have one job opportunity, but I'm not sure it's for me." Katy grimaced. "I suppose if it doesn't pan out, I will end up moving." "That's too bad," commiserated Donna. So many people were leaving now that the town's major employer was closing. "Are you ready for your cruise?" Katy decided to turn the conversation to something more cheerful while they waited for the girls to be ready. Donna smiled excitedly. "I still can't believe I'm going. I packed and repacked my suitcase at least 5 times. Yesterday I got a new bathing suit from a sweet little shop in Beaufort. My old one just wasn't going to work." Katy listened to Donna chatter. She was glad that she had managed to distract the all too observant Donna from questioning her about Jackson. Katy didn't know what she would do if Mrs. Davis discovered her crush on her eldest son. More importantly, what would Donna do? Everyone knew that Donna loved to matchmake for her children, even if she hadn't had any success yet. Would she try to push Katy toward Jackson? The last thing Katy wanted was to make things even more awkward between herself and Jackson by having his mother try to toss Katy in his way. That would be a disaster, even by Katy's standards. Soon they were interrupted by a bunch of girls swarming the craft table, ready to create a new piece of artwork to bring home. Pleased by the kids' enthusiasm, Katy led the group through the instructions to create a cute garden gate out of the popsicle sticks. Once they were home, they could stick a photo to the gate, creating a sort of recessed frame for the picture. Pinterest had made it seem cute and easy to execute. Just sticks, glitter, glue, paint, stamps, and a double-taped foam square for the center. How the parents were going to hang it on a wall wasn't Katy's problem. Perhaps it could sit on a desk or something. A half hour later, the majority of the girls seemed to have created a credible frame for their picture. Some needed a little work, but the students would have to finish it at home as time was up. Katy's looked like a disaster. It was wobbly and the glue didn't seem to be holding. Her stamped flowers were smudges, and the green paint she had used was lumpy. With a shrug, Katy tossed her creation into her tote of craft supplies. At least her instructions to the girls were better than her practical crafting skills. Cleaning up her area, Katy brought the refilled tote back out to her car, shoving it in the hatch. Locking it up, she went inside to help clean up from the snacking the girls had done in the kitchen. Ginny greeted her by handing her a towel. "Have you found another job yet? Trudy was saying she managed to line up an interview at the daycare in the city." "Good for her," Katy remarked as she started to dry plates and put them away. "She says it pays more, too," continued Ginny. "Of course, living in the city is bound to be more expensive as well." "Probably," Katy murmured as she stretched to put a picture back on the third shelf. She probably should have used a chair, Katy thought, just as she felt the picture slipping from the tips of her fingers. "Oh!" "I've got it." A voice drawled in her ear as a hand righted the picture before it could fall to the floor. "There." Her face flushing beet red. Katy knew it was Jackson immediately. She backed away, bumping into the kitchen island with her hip. "Thanks, Jackson." "No problem." Jackson nodded easily. "I thought your meetings were done by now." "About 10 more minutes." Ginny glanced at the clock. "Are you here to pick up your mother?" "She thought it would be easier." Jackson leaned against the kitchen counter, eyeing the tray of leftover squares that the girls hadn't managed to eat. "I had a cattlemen's meeting, so we drove together." "How did the meeting go?" Ginny picked up the tray, offering the treats to Jackson. "Thank you." He picked out a brownie. "Same as always. Most people are worried about the prices. The vet gave a presentation on bloat. One of the big shots came down from Beaufort and told us we weren't paying enough dues. He got laughed out of the room and asked what he was doing for the poor cattlemen of Pendle lately." "Sounds exciting," Ginny remarked, putting a lid on the container of squares. Katy wiped off the island and put the towel away. "Not really." Jackson took another bite of his square. "These are really good." "Katy made them." Ginny supplied the answer. She enjoyed always knowing the answers. "I didn't know you baked." Jackson looked at Katy in surprise. "The last time you used the stove at our place, there was blue smoke in the house for 2 days." Katy flushed. "I was distracted. Normally I bake and cook quite well." "This sounds interesting." Ginny set down her towel and looked at them expectantly. "Is it the usual Katy disaster or something more?" "I was trying out a new recipe," Katy defended herself. "Trent was fixing up the old treehouse because Mrs. Davis was hosting the sleepover for the girls' club. He wanted to be sure that the treehouse would be safe if the girls decided to go in it. Trent asked me to stand in it with him, to make sure it would hold our weight. We got talking about all sorts of memories related to the treehouse, and time passed. In the meanwhile, I had forgotten to shut off a pan with oil in it.
The oil burned in the pan, Jackson explained with a chuckle. It was like a low-hanging blue cloud in the house.
I'm not always a disaster, Katie muttered as she put the last of the kitchen items away. Just mostly one, Ginny teased.
Hey, Katie, I'm sorry I brought it up.
Jackson sobered. He didn't want to hurt her feelings.
The brownies are really good.
Thank you, she said with quiet dignity. Normally, she didn't mind when people kidded her about her mishaps. Katie had learned early on not to let herself dwell on her disasters. She would be a wreck if she did. However, to have Jackson teased didn't feel good. Katie knew she was being a poor sport about it, but she couldn't seem to help it. Lately, things had been very trying. Jackson, are you ready to go? Donna came into the kitchen, a questioning look in her eyes as she glanced from Katie to her son. She was picking up a bit of a vibe between the two of them.
Sure thing,
Jackson agreed readily. He took the bag of heavy workbooks from Donna. We hardly got to talk about your cruise, Ginny said in disappointment. I'm leaving early tomorrow, Donna said regretfully, but if you want to come by the house after I get back to see pictures, you're more than welcome to. Ginny brightened at the prospect. That would be great. I look forward to it. Have a good trip, Mrs. Davis. Katie wished Donna well. Please call me Donna, would you? Donna gave Katie a quick hug, sensing that the girl was feeling a little down. Katie gave her a quick smile. I had better get going. I have some packing to do. Where are you going? Wondered Ginny. I was thinking of visiting my parents for a while. Katie repeated her story of what she was going to be doing for the benefit of Ginny. Hopefully, the gossipy woman would spread the news that Katie was looking for work while she visited her parents. This way, no one would wonder where Katie really was while she was doing the book tour. It was a little white lie. She really had been thinking about visiting her parents soon. Perhaps on the way back from the book tour, she could drop in, and then it wouldn't be a lie at all. Donna and Jackson said their goodbyes as Katie filled Ginny in on her plans. At the truck, Jackson held open the passenger door for his mother, helping her up into the seat. When he reached his own seat, Donna turned to study him. Have you noticed anything different about Katie? She asked.
Other than the fact that she brought a pregnancy kit?
Jackson turned on the truck, pulling out of the church parking lot.
Not really.
She seems a bit depressed to me, ventured Donna. Jackson had noticed that. She also was a bit more touchy about things, too. Usually, Katie would be the first to laugh at her own disaster stories. Today she had been hurt when he brought up the blue cloud cooking fiasco.
She's lost her job. I think she has the right to be a little upset.
I was thinking about her coming out to the house a bit more often, like she used to. Donna decided another tact. I've missed her company. Plus, Trent will be coming home for the holidays.
Mom, I don't think they're interested in each other, Jackson warned. If they were, it would have happened by now.
You never know, Donna insisted stubbornly, trying to gauge her son's reaction. I'm planning on hanging up a lot of mistletoe this year. Perhaps that will start some sparks. Jackson rolled his eyes.
You mean I'm going to be hauling out the ladder again and hanging it for you?
Not the reaction she had hoped for, Donna decided with a sigh. I just think that Katie could use a little help right now. You will keep an eye on her while I'm on the cruise. He planned on keeping a very good eye on Katie during the book tour. Not that he was going to tell his mom about that.
She's going to her parents' place.
She will be back. She loves it here in Pendle, confidently said Donna. When she does get back, and if I'm not home, will you look out for her? See if there's anything she needs done around her place.
A lot needs to be done around her place. First, her landlord needs to get off his behind and do some maintenance.
grimaced Jackson. Well, maybe you could go have a chat with him, she suggested.
He's been letting that place go for over 20 years, Jackson told her wryly. I don't think he's going to change now.
With a heavy sigh, Donna watched the passing scenery.
Fine, growled Jackson. I will have a talk with him, but I don't think that's going to change anything.
And you'll keep a watch out for Katie? Persisted Donna.
Yes, I will, he promised, as long as you promise to have fun with Annette and Tracy.
That I can do. Donna grinned happily. She was no further to knowing if Jackson had any feelings for Katie. However, she was satisfied with him giving his word to look out for her. Donna waited until they were home before she tried again. You can set the workbooks there. Donna pointed to the bench in the mudroom. Carolyn will be by to pick them up tomorrow morning before I go. She'll need them for the next girls' club meeting. I suppose Katie will have found someone to replace her for craft time.
I suppose so, Jackson said non-committally as he took off his boots.
I thought Katie was looking a little thin. Donna pursed her lips as she went to the kitchen to put on a kettle for a cup of coffee. Do you think she's lost weight?
I hadn't noticed. Jackson hung up his coat and followed his mother to the kitchen. Taking down a tin, he pulled out a couple of cookies for each of them, setting them on a napkin. Was her son entirely blind? Donna wondered as she set out cups. Maybe we should invite her to dinner sometime, or you could take her out. Mom? Jackson's voice warned her that he was on to Donna's scheme. Katie is just a friend. She's always been a friend of this family.
As she's a friend of our family, it's our neighborly duty to make sure she's okay.
Donna tried to sound innocent and didn't really succeed if Jackson's expression was anything to judge by. Jackson gave Donna a level look. Mom, have you ever noticed that the more you push a girl at either Trent or I, the less likely we are to look at her? Let us figure out our own love lives.
I can't do that, Donna stated firmly. You boys need directing. If there is anything that your father's death has taught me, it's that life is so fragile. I just want to see each of you settled with someone to care for you in case I die.
You're not going to die anytime soon, he said gruffly.
I hope not, but no one can know that. Donna decided to lay the guilt on thick. It would just make me glad to see each of you settled with someone worthy to make each of you happy. Plus, I have a hankering for grandchildren. I'm not getting any younger, and I would like to play with the little ones while I still have some energy.
Jackson laughed. Now you're making it sound like you're 90 years old and on your deathbed. Pouring the coffee, Donna shot her son a black look.
When you get to my age, you will understand.
Mom, I love you, he responded with a grin. However, I'm not going to let you guilt me into dating and marrying some girl. That's just a recipe for regret and an unhappy marriage.
I love you too, which is why I'm worried about your future. She sighed and picked up her 2 cookies with her mug of coffee. I'm just going to finish my book before bed. I have everything ready for tomorrow. Tracy and Annette are picking me up.
Hopefully they won't be late, Jackson commented as he bit into a cookie. Everyone knew Tracy's habit of not being on time.
She will be here. Annette promised me she would drag Tracy out of the house in her housecoat if need be, smiled Donna. Now, there's lots of food in the fridge and freezer. I'm sure I have taught you enough that you won't starve. Don't forget to do your own laundry or you will run out. Remember to water the plants once a week.
Don't worry, it's all under control. Jackson neglected to mention that he wasn't going to be here. He had decided that tomorrow he was going to be suddenly invited on a hunting trip and would leave the chores and houseplants in the capable hands of his neighbors for a small fee. Not that the Campbells would take the money, but Jackson would offer it anyways. Either that, or they would manage to barter something in exchange for services. That was the good part of living in a small rural community. Everyone was willing to help each other out to the best of their abilities.
I hope so. The last thing I want is to come home and find my Christmas cactus dead, Donna told him.
Your plants will be fine. Katie will be fine. The house and the barn will still be standing when you return, Jackson responded with easy assurance. I even promise not to throw any parties, so your bone china will be safe.
Well, as long as the china is safe, Donna said with a hint of a smile.
Go read your book, Jackson advised her. I will see you in the morning before you run away with the girls.
Donna rolled her eyes, but gave her son a quick kiss on the cheek before taking her nighttime snack to her room. Jackson enjoyed his coffee and cookies. He reflected that his mother's cookies, while good, weren't the same caliber as the brownie that Katie had made. That had been a good brownie. Cleaning up after himself, he checked on the animals in the barn quickly before turning in for the night. Thinking over Donna's not-so-subtle hints, Jackson wondered why he never really thought of dating Katie. He supposed it was because Katie had been around all the time during their childhood. She had been like another sister in the house, following after Trent and being a general nuisance without intending to be. Him dating Katie would be about as feasible as Trent wanting to date Katie. Trent had never shown the slightest interest in her either. Then again, if Donna hadn't been so intent on pushing the two together at every possible opportunity since they were halfway through high school, perhaps something would have developed between Katie and Trent naturally. As it was, Trent had always maintained that he and Katie would just be friends. Jackson wondered what Katie thought about that. Had she wanted more, and Donna's machinations made that impossible? It seemed silly that his mom was trying to get him to be interested in Katie right now. They didn't know if she was in a relationship, nor did they know if Katie was pregnant. Jackson didn't think it was the right time to go pursuing a woman in such variables. Of course, with the way his mother was thinking lately, Donna probably thought that an unexpected pregnancy was a boon. She had just been remarking in the kitchen how much she wanted grandkids. Jackson pushed the thoughts away and tried to get some sleep. Tomorrow was going to be a very busy day, and he didn't need thoughts of Katie running through his head. I hope you enjoyed this chapter. Did you know I have several series of different books out? Some of them are sweet romance just like this one, with the Ramsley Brothers series or the Broken One series. Other ones are cozy mysteries, like the Camping Girl series or the Autumn Heights series. Happy listening!